Que bueno, mi gente. Cali X Boxing in the building, and it is Thursday. I'm back with my days being correct, getting my footing back from vacation. It's been tough getting back. Appreciate everybody in the building already. Jesus M. Saludos to you, my friend. What's up to my guy, wheelchair man, John, in the building. Appreciate emailing back and forth with you this morning. Chauncey Pearls back from vacation. Appreciate you, Chauncey Pearls, working diligently on that trap beat for me for the HCP intro, man. I appreciate that. And hopefully you took none of the alien talk personally yesterday. Because I don't really care if there's aliens or not. I'm just saying, I don't really think there is. But shout out to anybody who does believe in aliens. I got nothing against that. Buenos to our Lord, the flayed one, marinating sensation. How we doing? Grant G in the building is what was haggling. CY in here as well. And yeah, look, man, aliens, monsters, boogeymen. We talked about all that. It is what it is with that stuff. Today, it's it's June 29th. It's like that cutoff right in the middle of the year. So we started to take stock of where we are in boxing, right? And this has been a hot year for boxing for the most part. But one thing that has not changed is the chronic inactivity, the inactivity level in boxing. One of the issues with boxing, and I hit wheelchair man John up about this on the email because he's like, I really want stuff to go on in the heavyweight division and these fights to be made. And the good news is these fights are possible. I don't completely put cold water on Fury versus Usyk. I have to believe that fight happens at some point, although they're saying it's not in December. They're going to be talking about Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder. Can I ask a question? Like, how many reports do I have to get that they're talking about a fight? They're talking about a fight. Yeah, we knew that last week. There was a report about that last week. They're talking about a fight. Yeah, there was another report about that 2 weeks ago. And then another one 3 weeks ago. And then another one 4 weeks ago. They're talking about the fight. We're in talks. We get that you're in talks. Can you talk? And then let us know when the talk is over. How about that? I don't need to know an update every week on, hey, we're talking about things over here. We're talking about a fight. If I'm standing on a corner and then these two dudes are just talking about fighting each other, and then the next day they talk about fighting each other, and then the next day they talk about fighting each other, I'm going to stop going to that corner. Dude, like, I'm tired. Can y'all just throw some punches? Please, can you throw some punch? Can you hit that guy and then you hit him back? How about we just start that? I'll just start instigating stuff. Like, he says something about your mom. He says something about your sister. Like, can you throw a punch? We came here to watch you fight. You told us to come here to watch you fight, and you're not fighting. That's the current heavyweight division. I feel like the current heavyweight division needs to be at the bottom of the ocean, right next to that Titanic in the submersible. We need to just sink it. Because if the current heavyweight division just disappeared, dude, I'd be fine. Like, do we really miss these dudes right now? We get talks. We get updates about dudes talking. We don't get updates about dudes fighting. Do you know? Troubling stat. The top 10 heavyweights in boxing through the first 6 months have fought a combined 5 times. Let me repeat that stat. The top 10 heavyweights in boxing, according to Ring Magazine, have fought a combined 5 times in the first 6 months. That's where we're at. Do I have to read it to you? Alexander Usyk, 0 fights. Tyson Fury, 0 fights. Deontay Wilder, 0 fights. Why would I be concerned about a dude with 0 fights in half the calendar year? Like, we have to get to number 4, Anthony Joshua, before we get a fight, and that fight was mid. Zhang has the most going for him so far in 2023. Upset Joe Joyce. Got a good quality win. He's the only guy in the top 10 in the heavyweight division with the quality win in year 2023. And we're halfway through the year. And Zhilei Zhang is the only heavyweight with a quality heavyweight win. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. So for a couple years now, I've been coming on and saying the heavyweight division currently, as it is historically terrible. It's historically terrible. They're like, no, actually, they're big. And since they're big, they would beat any heavyweight from previous eras. You just don't understand. Look how big they are. Look how big they are. They look good. Look how big they are. They beat any heavyweight from. Really? Then why is it that a cruiserweight has come in within a handful of fights and consolidated 4 of the 5 major titles in that division? Why is that? If just because they're big, they would beat anybody from any previous era. How did that happen? And oh, by the way, can I see some fights? How about that too? Can I see some fights? Like, in order to be great, don't you have to fight some fights? So it makes me want to throw up, puke everywhere when I see the top 10 heavyweights fight a combined 5 times in 6 months. In the first 6 months of a year, they fought a combined 5 times in calendar year 2023, fellas. And I'm supposed to be excited about this. Put that division at the bottom of the ocean with the submersible and the Titanic. Just put the heavyweight division down there and I wouldn't miss it. Dude, I don't miss Tyson Fury at this point. I don't need to see him fight again. No, I'm sorry. Fighter don't fight, dude. Fighter retire. Just fight or retire. I'm tired of hearing about, oh, we got talks. Possibly John Jones, possibly Francis Ngannou. I mean, I've been hearing about this huge bag the Saudis are going to throw at Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. For the love of God, can the Saudis hurry up? You got a ton of money. Hurry up. Speed up the process. Why are we waiting till December? Speed up the process. And this is what I was trying to tell Wheelchair Man John in the email. Shout out to him. Is it's not sustainable. Even if we get great fights, we're going to have to wait another year for another great fight. I'm supposed to be excited about this possible semifinals heavyweight showdown in December out in the desert of the Saudi between Alexander Usyk, Tyson Fury, and then Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder. And then what happens next? I talk about this often, like even after great fights in boxing comes confusion. So what happens next? Okay, they fight each other. And then I'm going to have to wait 14, 16, 18 months for these dudes to fight another quality fight. Fuck, retire. Just retire. I mean, what is this? What am I following? What an atrocious division. The appeal of the heavyweight division has been what? It's not greatness, because there's no greatness in the heavyweight division. It's just not a deep division full of greatness. These guys aren't historically great. They're just not. Stop letting people lie to you. These guys aren't historically great. They're not. Okay, so that's done. Okay, we're done with that. Let's move on. So what was great about the division is it doesn't need to be historically great. It doesn't need to be full of fighters who are historically great. There is a vacuum for fights, like dudes who just put on entertaining fights, good matchups, entertaining matchups. It doesn't have to be between historically great fighters. You know, we don't have to sit here as wine sippers and say, oh, you know, I don't appreciate that because it's not the sweet science. That guy got hit too much. No, I like dudes getting hit and I like dudes hitting back. So put on entertaining fights. And that's what the heavyweight division at the top has been able to give me in the past couple years. Why? Because these dudes at the top are flawed. They're flawed. Deontay Wilder has a right hand that can send you to hell, but guess what? Otherwise, he pretty much sucks. I mean, I said it there. I said it. The right hand will eviscerate you. It's great. His right hand, the power in his right hand, I will give him that, is historically great. But other than that, it's pretty average. Tyson Fury, he puts on a great performance and then he disappears. Anthony Joshua, we've seen his flaws. Joe Joyce, we've seen his flaws. Alexander Usyk looks like he could possibly be great, but he's small, so we'll see if they can do the fights. We'll see. But the beauty of that division has been the guys at the top are flawed. There's several flawed guys at the top who are also marketable, and these dudes are making themselves less marketable just by not being likable. What's likable about a dude who's 6'9", looks like Humpty Dumpty, and then retires every 6 months or whatever, and then talks his way out of fights, and then calls guys out, and then doesn't call them out, and then calls guys out, and then doesn't call them out? Why is that entertaining to people? How about we fight the fights? I don't know. Like I said, man, sink that division. Put it down there. I don't know anything about the submersible. I just know it's down there. One of my neighbors is a conspiracy theorist. He sent me a text one day. I think that was last week when this happened. And he's like, they're on a private island. I'm looking at this. I'm like, what does that mean? It's like 6:30 a.m. I think he's talking about a neighbor or something. They're in a private island. I was like, who's on a private island? He's like, the submersible guys. They're on a private island. And he's a conspiracy theorist. And I'm like, dude, 50% of conspiracy theories I'm with you on, but the other 50 you swerve way over there. And that's one of them. I was like, dude, it probably blew up. It probably blew up without even doing any research. Probably blew up. And it blew up. So what I'm saying is blow up the heavyweight division and just put it down there by the submersible and by the Titanic. And would we really miss it? Would we really miss it? This is Boxing Today. Wilder Ruiz talking pay. And look, 50-50, 70-30, then what happens? They start throwing out numbers, and then the two factions start going after each other, right? 50-50. Why would he demand 50-50 when he did this and he did that? Why would he demand 70-30 when he did this and he did that? And I'm looking at this, I'm like, make the fight. This should be the easiest fight to make. Make the fight. Just make the fight, dude. Like, split it in the middle. Who cares? I know it's money and I get it. There's a business side, but for the love of God, are we hung up on Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz, who haven't fought this year, and then it's going to be a 50-50, 70-30 scenario? And then, like I talked about yesterday, you have factions out there online who would rather the fights not be made because they can battle mythical battles online like some freaking Dungeons and Dragon nerds. Oh, he would beat this guy because he's got that and he's got that. It's like, how about we watch the fights? How about we demand these guys just fight each other? I don't get it, man. Like, he does look like Humpty Dumpty. He does. Uninteresting to the casuals. It's when these dudes fight, when are they going to fight again? We're halfway through the year. Let me ask the chat a question and put it in the chat. Who is the fighter of the year so far halfway through 2023? Who's the fighter of the year? And remember, we can't give full calendar year awards out to part-time fighters, so you have to fight more than once. So who is on pace to fight more than once this year? And who's put on an otherworldly performance to where, in a great win, to where if they fight one more time this year, that guy, we trust that this guy will fight one more. Now, Teofimo would be a front runner, but he's retired. So we can't give an award to a retired fighter, right? The retired fighter is retired, so he's likely not going to fight again in the second half of the calendar year, so we can't give it to him. Are we going to give it to Tim Tszyu since he fought twice? Are we going to give it to Tank since he fought twice? Are we going to give it to Haney because we trust maybe he'll fight a second time this year? I don't know. The fact that nobody definitively has run out with the lead. Bivol was in the lead halfway through the year. Bam Rodriguez was halfway through the year in the lead last year. We had clear front runners. So as hot as this year has been, we look at the inactivity level, and I'll point out some stats here in a minute. We point out the inactivity level and we say, man, just imagine if these dudes actually fought. We're having a decent year compared to recent decade, recent memory in boxing. Just imagine if these guys actually fought. It's amazing, right? But this is what I'm saying, man. Like, fight the fights. I need something sustainable. So it's Tim Zoo so far, probably Tim. Um, Even though I'm not a fan of Tim Zoo, I have to give it to him. Inactivities killing boxing. Tim Mongia. Jared Anderson hasn't fought. No one. Yeah. And that's another thing. Speaking of Jared Anderson is 14 fights in. He's 4 years into his career. He fought twice last year, and both fights were quick. So I have to ask the question, if you're looking to build a superstar, I think you should start with Jared Anderson. And if you were serious about building Jared Anderson into a superstar, what should you be doing? Have him fight. One of the key requirements to be a star in boxing is to fight fights. It's why even though Tank has star qualities, he's not a star yet. We'll see how time goes on if the Ryan Garcia fights a one-off. And you can point out Ryan Garcia, but I'm telling you, Ryan Garcia is an exception. And I'm telling you, the Ryan Garcia thing won't age well. We can't do things that way. We need sustainability. And Jared Anderson is a possibility of becoming a sustainable superstar. Now, there are red flags. He's out there crying, talking to Roy Jones. I'm only 23. I don't want all this pressure. And then he's talking about as soon as he makes money, he wants to retire. There are red flags there, right? But he has star qualities. He understands the ring entrance quality. He understands when he gets on the mic after the fight, to call guys out and to the gift of gab. And then he understands I got to knock guys out. And he seems to have the qualities, the technique to, if he can't knock guys out, I can go 12 rounds and win that way too. So we'll see over time if that's true. But a key requirement is fighting fights. And he's simply not fighting fights. Why is it that guy fights twice last year? And why is it that 6 months in, maybe he'll fight 3 or 4 times this year. This is his second fight this year, so maybe that will tick up. I don't know, but he needs to be fighting. He needs to be mowing guys down. Just have that guy, dude, he's barely putting in work on actual fight night. The work is in the training. So shorten the training camp, have him fight more, have him fight 4 or 5 times per year at least, and destroy dudes. It could be anybody. It could be Joe Blow from the corner. Pick the guy randomly, number 156 on BoxRec. Pick him and stroll him out there and have Jared Anderson eviscerate him in 1 round, and people will go crazy. It's not difficult, but what makes it difficult from what I'm hearing behind the scenes is high minimums. They need to make money off of his fights, and that's what makes this difficult. Short-term contracts can get boxing out of that, but good luck with that. What up, Calix, my guy? Something funny. YouTube has a survey when I click on your videos. How satisfied are you with this notification? And AJ White, too. Appreciate you, Remy, my guy, coming through. AJ White, too. And look, this is the thing. Dillian White has fought 0 times this year. AJ's fought once. It was against Franklin. It is what it is. There's one meaningful fight in the heavyweight division all year so far. One. There is one guy, a single guy with a meaningful win in the division all year, and that can't happen. You can't have that in the division. We talk about the middleweight division being atrocious. Look at this. At least this division has some entertaining guys at the top if they were to fight. And here's the beautiful thing. It doesn't matter if they lose. It does not matter. They're all marketable, win or lose. If you do it right, they're not doing it right. What are we doing? Why are these guys not doing anything? Do something. Do something. I feel once again like that meme, the dude with the stick in the heavyweight divisions right there. Do something. Do something. Do something. Please do something. And look, I appreciate that super chat. Remy, always appreciate the support. my brother. And look, this is a top 10 pound for pound according to Ring Magazine. And look, we're not going to pick apart the pound for pound list and where we think guys should be, all that stuff, because it's a pound for pound list. It's subjective. If you don't like it, go make your own list. I'm not going to get into that because there are obviously things I would do different than this list. It is what it is. But I more so want to bring it up because look at the inactivity level of this list. Look at it. Alexander Usyk, number one, pound for pound. How many times has he fought in calendar year 2023? Take a stab at it. It's zero. Naoya Inoue, love him. To me, he's my pound for pound king. He's going to fight a big fight next month, granted, but how many times through the first half of the year? Zero. Bud Crawford going to fight a big fight next month. Good for him, but it's zero. He's fought zero times. Errol Spence, we know the answer to that. Zero. He hasn't fought in what, 15 months, something like that. Zero. He's going to fight a big fight. Once again, like some guys are going to be doing something at some point later this month. I get that. Big things. But we can't have. This has been many years in a row now, several years in a row, where we have things like the top 4 pound for pound fighters in the world not having a fight halfway through a calendar year. How is that good? And I keep hearing things like this fight this year, we're on fire, we're making great fights, when we are, but the problem is still it's built on faulty foundation. After great fights, after great matchups, what do we get after? Like, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? Where's the structure here? What's going to happen next? When are we going to see this guy again? And we talk about this, I mean, not to beat a dead drum, but we talk about it with Canelo all the time. It's like the beautiful thing about that relationship is if Canelo disappears for like a month and a half, people start to ask a lot of questions, and that's due to expectations. We expect the Canelo news cycle to move fast because the dude fights, and he fights meaningful fights. So with these other guys, not so much. Now, Canelo's fought once this year, and he's going to fight a second time in September. He's the first guy on the pound for pound list who has actually fought this calendar year. Dimitri Bivol, we've been over that 0 times. Imagine that. You're the fighter of the year in 2022, resoundingly, and you go the first half of the year without a fight, 0, and nothing scheduled. He joins Alexander Usyk as the guys who first half of the year, no fights, nothing scheduled. At least Inoue, Bud, and Spence have something scheduled. At least we give them that. Devin Haney fought once. Give him that. He fought a meaningful fight. Good for him. Tank Davis, number 8. He's fought twice. Now, we'd like him to face better opposition, granted, but he fought Ryan Garcia. People wanted that fight. We got to say so far, Tank's having a decent year. He's fought twice. Teofimo Lopez, once, meaningful fight, but retired. Lomachenko fought once, lost a controversial decision. We'll see when he gets back. But this is the inactivity level we have in boxing still. The top 10 pound for pound fighters in the world, according to the biggest publication out there, Ring Magazine, has a combined 6 fights. 6 halfway through the year. Last year, according to Ring Magazine, the top 10 pound for pound fighters in the world fought a combined 14 times. So 1.4. And the disturbing trend there is it remains the same as you go out. If you look at BoxRec's top 50 pound for pound, last year they fought a combined 1.4 times. If you take that further out, if you take ESPN's top 100 pound for pound fighters, ESPN's top 100 pound for pound fighters is 1.4. It's a disturbing trend. You take it out further through BoxRec 150. I did this. I'm a nerd. Top 150. It's 1.4. It goes out and it goes out and it goes out. So it trickles all the way down. It's not like, hey, once we get to the top, as Glenn Jennings was telling us the other night, the disturbing part, the frustrating part is we want to fight 4 times per year. But once you get to the top, they throw so many obstacles out there in the way of actually fighting fights that it becomes harder to stay active. It's harder to make fights. We try to cut out the noise and just make the fights, but they put obstacles in the way of actually making fights. And Sims was a fighter. Crazy, right? He wants to fight. But it's not just at the top. You got mid-level guys fighting once, maybe twice per year. You got the top 10 heavyweights fighting combined 5 times in 6 months. You got a guy like Jared Anderson who should be fighting 5, 6 times per year, the third year into his career, who fought twice. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? And you point this stuff out and you get the same stuff, right? The same redundant stuff. And it's, look, you don't understand fighter safety. Okay, prove to me that the fighter safety has gotten better. Prove it to me. With empirical evidence and data, prove to me that fighter safety has gotten better since guys have fought less. And you can't. These dudes are beating the hell out of each other in the gym, draining themselves down in saunas, losing 10 pounds a day before a fight. And that's supposed to be better for fighter safety. No, how about this? How about you minimize the training camps and fight more fights? How about that? How about that? Greedy fighters, money, money, money. Not greedy when they had the balls to not resort on the streets and dedicate themselves in a crazy discipline required sport. You nerd, thank you for doing the hard work. Fighters are holding out for the $1 million payday when they're worth $75K. That's why inactivity is usually more dangerous for fighters. Safety, fight more fights and let's gamble on them. Let's see what else we got. Fighters deserve market pay. And what's the market pay, though? What's the market pay? The market pay is so inflated. And when you bring this up, people start to call you anti-fighter, and it's actually the opposite. And we've talked about this. The people who say stuff like fighters should demand what they're worth in the market, fair enough, man. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but what I'm telling you is the market pay is so inflated that it paralyzes the market. And it's a problem for fighters on the lower end because they're not getting paid. Everything's held up at the top and they're stuck. They're stuck. So when you bring up that the fighter pay is too high at the top, the market is inflated, you're called anti-fighter. But I have to ask those people, are you for fighters, really? Are you just for fighters at the top? I have to ask that question. Would it be better from top to bottom if we just built something more sustainable, took away the high minimums, have guys go out there and earn what they're getting paid? I don't know. I don't know. This doesn't look sustainable to me. It just doesn't look sustainable. Guys win a fight and then they disappear. Imagine this. Imagine that the great fight, the great year we're having, supposedly, and I think what it is it's great compared to previous years. It's not great historically, not even close. But the fights that are being made at the top right now, because guys are getting FOMO, fear of missing out. The fear of missing out thing is not going to last. It's not. You need something sustainable. You need a foundation, and we still don't have that. And that's why I store the real dudes back in and say, look, this ain't going to be sustainable. It's not going to be sustainable. Imagine if the top 10 pound for pound fighters were fighting a combined 25 to 30 times like they were back in the 90s. Imagine that. Imagine the type of year we would be having. Imagine if everybody conducted their business that way. But the market price is so inflated that it makes it tough. Dudes now think they're worth more than they actually are because they're making more than they're actually worth. And the power brokers are doing that. And the power brokers have broken the sport. You're a great fighter, but can't draw a crowd, then less money, reasonable pay. You're more of an attraction and bring in money, more money. All fighters should get a percentage. Sky Nicholson fought 5 times last year, sharing the profits. I mean, basically what it comes down to, man, is guys need to be fighting more. They need to be fighting more. Speaking of a guy that's fighting this weekend, you know Roy Jones is fighting this weekend? Roy Jones just lost to Anthony Pettis in a sanctioned fight. It goes against his record. Sad. It's sad. And he's fighting a guy named NDO Champ, who is a bodybuilder. And you have to pay $20 for it. It's just sad stuff. It's sad to see Roy. And that's the weekend we have this weekend. We got him and we got Jared Anderson against Charles Martin, which Jared Anderson, usually we talk about betting odds here on Thursday, but Jared Anderson is going to roll through that fight. And he should. He should roll through, steamroll Charles Martin. But once again, once he steamrolls through Charles Martin, we should see him again in the fall. Will we, is the question. Will we? Will we have a sustainable product with the Jared Anderson? Will we be able to see him again in September instead of December or January or February or March? Fight the fights. All right. He's already got the other stuff down. Jared Anderson's entertaining. He knocks guys out. He's got all that. He's got the gift of gab. He's got to fight more fights. He's got to fight more fights. And yeah, Roy can't let it go. Roy can't let it go. Why did Matteo Battios highlight headlines to pay-per-views? He's Hispanic and he was vulnerable. And he's with the PBC. The PBC loves vulnerable, beatable, B-side Hispanics. They love it. They love it. At the end of the day, man, the Hispanics, particularly the Mexicans run American boxing as far as consumers go. As far as consumers go, they run it. It's why Ryan Garcia was a gold mine for them. When they found out Ryan Garcia wanted that fight, wanted it at all costs, and was willing to do 136 with the 10-pound rehydration call, they felt like, oh my God, how is this happening? He's Hispanic. Look at the market he's got. And look what they stumbled upon. But they love vulnerable, beatable Hispanic B-sides. They love it. Look at Tank's resume if you don't believe me. So with Matteo Battios, he was a beatable guy with the Reggie at 140. They can call him a 3-division champion. And then it's part of the Tank Davis theorem. Guys lose to Tank Davis, and somehow their stock rises. And not only does their stock rise, it catapults to where Raleigh Romero looked like an awful fighter. Just an awful fighter going up to the Tank Davis fight. It was the Raleigh Romero thing was one of the most fascinating and amazing things I've ever seen. And it continues to go, which makes it even more amazing. Raleigh Romero is one of the worst fighters with a name that I can remember leading up to the Tank Davis fight. And I watched them build him up before the fight. The marketing was, I'm watching this and I'm like, people need to study this marketing. People need to study this marketing because a lot of people are buying into this. A lot of people are buying into this scam. It's a clear scam, and they're buying into it. They started to buy into Raleigh Romero as a dangerous opponent for Tank Davis. And not only that, it continues to go on. Oh, he lost. He got knocked out. He got flatlined, but somehow he's a better fighter now than before he fought Tank Davis. And I'm just scratching my head. And then I watch him go into a title fight in the next fight, and he has to be saved in order to win that title fight as the 13-1 favorite. And I saw the same thing with Matteo Battios. I saw it at the time, and I talked about it. How is it a guy can be a B-side on a pay-per-view, get knocked out, and then 6 months later be a B-side on a pay-per-view? It's the Tank Davis theorem. But what helps is they're vulnerable, beatable Hispanic fighters. And that's what we got. Speaking of some Hispanic fighters, Mexico versus Puerto Rico. You know, and I know Mexico versus Puerto Rico is very much a vacuum in boxing that needs to be filled. How do I know this? Because I just observe things. It's not only boxing, but I observe things outside of boxing. And I'm watching Instagram one day and I see this thing, like it's fascinating. It's like a couple-minute video on Instagram. And then it's got the Mexican faction and then the Puerto Rican faction. And the dude's going around and asking each dude, Why are Mexicans better than Puerto Ricans? Why are Puerto Ricans better than Mexicans? And then you got them going at each other. And it's clear that there's still a rivalry there between the two. I'm not saying they hate each other, but there's clearly a rivalry. There's clearly Mexicans are better than Puerto Ricans. Puerto Ricans are better than Mexicans. And they pan off to a dude in a barbershop. He looks like 2001 Terror Squad all the way. Echo jeans. He's still got the John B. fade because Puerto Rican dudes from New York still do that. They're still stuck in 2001. I don't understand it. But they're interviewing him and he's saying only Mexicans listen to Mexican music. Look at Puerto Rican music. Look at Mexican music. The whole world listens to Puerto Rican music. Nobody besides Mexicans listen to Mexican music. And I'm laughing. And then you go to the Mexican dude and he's saying, who eats Puerto Rican food? Everybody eats Mexican food. Look at what we're giving people as far as cuisine. And I'm seeing the back and forth. And I'm like, oh, there's a rivalry there. And there's a rivalry there. And there's a vacuum in boxing when it comes to Mexico versus Puerto Rico that needs to be filled. It needs to be filled so badly that dudes will, speaking of fighters being overpaid, dudes will reach when it comes to Berlanga just to get a Puerto Rican fighter to possibly fill that void. Imagine that. We're so in desperate need of a Puerto Rican fighter who isn't a lower weight class guy that will reach and overpay a dude who's clearly mid. Berlanga will overpay just to have a Puerto Rican fighter in our stable to possibly put in there in a Mexico versus Puerto Rico matchup. So I'm watching Munguia versus Berlanga play out. And it's clear at this point that they'd rather put Munguia in there with a certain level of guy. Derevyanchenko, he goes life and death with Derevyanchenko. It could go either way. Berlanga is clear at this point that anybody in the top 20 could beat that guy. He goes 12 rounds with Jason Quigley. He knocks him down 4 times, yes, but the last fight he fought, he bit the guy's ear, I think, or he bit him on the neck, and he hadn't fought in 13 months. So I say to myself, I'm observing this, and I'm like, if ever there was a fight that needed to be made, currently in boxing, Munguia's with Golden Boy. Berlanga's with Matchroom. Golden Boy is with DAZN. Matchroom is with DAZN. Hello. Mexican, Puerto Rican. Hello. One guy just fought at 168. The other guy just fought at 168. Hello. Hello. Sometimes I just sit back and observe, and I'm like, these dudes, they're not that smart. They're just not that smart. I think they lie to people, and then we start to believe them and say, yeah, they're that smart. I hear Steven Espinoza say this all the time. He's like, people just don't understand what we're going through back here and how tough it is to make the fucking fight. DAZN. And Steven Espinoza has nothing to do with this. I'm just bringing that up as an example. This is easy. I'm watching Oscar De La Hoya after the Berlanga fight, and he's taking shots at Eddie Hearn, and I'm like, stupid. Can you concentrate for 1 minute? Oscar, can you please concentrate for 1 minute? Dude, concentrate. You have a fight right there that's makeable, and your guy would be the favorite. And it's a much easier fight for him than anything else that people are out there demanding. It's a pathway forward for you. It's a rivalry. It's a possible home and home. You can do one fight in LA where the SAs can beat up on a couple Puerto Ricans in the stands, and we all have a good time. And then you can do one in New York where the Puerto Ricans can beat up on a couple SAs in the stands, and we have a good time. And we have a good fight in the ring. It's an entertaining, fascinating matchup between two completely flawed guys who like to hit people and like to get hit. What are we doing? What in the world are we doing? There is a vacuum out there for just entertaining fights. We act like we need every fight to be a home run. Every fight to be between top guy. We need to be doing this at every level. Matchups at every level. And Munguia versus Berlanga is 2 mid guys who are somehow marketable. And I think a lot of that has to do with the possible rivalry, Mexico versus Puerto Rico, built in fan bases. It's sitting there. It's right there. I would pay for it. It's sitting right in front of you. It's an easy fight to make. Oscar should be calling Eddie. Eddie should be calling Oscar. Instead, what do we have? We got Oscar getting drunk or whatever he's doing, sniffing cocaine off of a hooker, and then taking shots at Eddie on Twitter, and then Eddie takes shots back at Oscar. And I'm looking at these dudes. I'm like, just make the fight. Make the fight. It's easy. They're on the same network. They're in the same weight class. Mexico versus Puerto Rico. What are you doing? What are you doing? We don't need every fight to be great, or we don't need every matchup between that's great to be between great fighters. We haven't spit out in Arturo Gatti in 15, 16 years, dude. We should have been able to do that just by accident, just by putting on good fighters at the average level. Create a guy who can be a human highlight film. And these dudes keep missing it. This is sitting right there. You can turn the tide for both guys. These guys can be in a war, entertaining fight, and we're saying, you know what? I don't care if these guys are mid. Munguia's fun. Berlanga was fun in that fight. I'm happy. I don't need them to be top 5, top 10, whatever. Just make the fight. But let me ask a question. Dudes in the chat. Do you like pop music? If you like pop music, put 1. If you don't like pop music, put 2. Pop music, just music you hear on the radio. If you like pop music, put 1. If you don't like pop music, put 2. I have a feeling I know where this is going to go, how it's going to go. And yeah, y'all do that for me. Hit that like button. Robert Sanchez doesn't like pop music. CY likes pop music. I'm getting some 2s. I figured this. I'm getting some 2s. And I think dudes are lying out here. I think dudes are lying. Some people might be, music aficionados and not like pop music. Remy doesn't like pop music. Impala doesn't like pop music. I think y'all are lying. If y'all hear on the radio, you're driving to work, you're driving to Home Depot, wherever you're driving, Bed Bath and Beyond, if it's still open, I don't know, linens and things. You're driving and you hear, I got a pocket full of sunshine. Oh, whoa. Or like a Spice Girl song. What's that song with that girl? She says, I heard it on the radio earlier. I forgot how it goes, but a Backstreet Boys song. Backstreet's back. All right. Dun, 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 dun. If you hear that, generally, and you're going to lie about this, but generally it just puts you in a good mood. It doesn't need to be great. None of that is winning a Grammy. Like the New Kids on the Block, they never won a Grammy. Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, Spice Girls might have won a Grammy. I don't know. I don't really watch the Grammys, but we don't need all music to be Grammy-winning music. We don't need all music to be Mozart. We don't need all music to be like Santana on the guitar. We don't need it to all be that. Sometimes I just want to go to the beach and just vibe out to pop music. If liking pop music is wrong, I don't want to be right. I enjoy pop music. I said it there. I said it. I like pop music. I like it. I enjoy it. I'd rather other stuff. I like other stuff. Thank you, Jesus. One. That Santana impersonation was wrong. But you dudes in the chat are acting like you're acting like if you hear I got a pocket full of sunshine, why? Oh, whoa. And notice how I don't even know the words. I've heard this song a million times. I don't know the words, but I know how it goes, and I know it puts me in a good mood. It just makes me happy. I hear this, I turn on the radio, and sometimes I want to listen to country music. Sometimes I want to listen to rap in the truck. Sometimes I want to listen to like classical music. When there's a different vibe I'm going for each time. And I understand that this is good over here. That's good Grammy winning music. That's good classical music. That's going to, 50 years from now, people are going to be listening to that. But then sometimes I just want to listen to pop music. And that's not wrong. It's not bad. It's not bad to want to listen to pop music. There's a need for it. It's a filler. It just makes people happy. And this is where we've gone from in boxing, I feel like, is we feel like every fight needs to be a home run between top fighters, but sometimes you need to make the Berlangas versus the Munguias. I don't need to see Munguia against David Benavidez. I know how that would go. I don't need to see Berlanga versus God only knows. Dude, anybody in the top 10 destroys that guy. I don't need to see, for example, Caleb Plant versus Berlanga. Don't need to see it. What I would like you to give me is some pop music here. What I would like you to give me is the clear fight that needs to be made. And you have to be completely blind and completely deaf and completely stupid to miss it. Is you have a Mexican dude who's marketable with the built-in fan base, who's entertaining at super middleweight. Just fought at super middleweight. And he looks beatable. And I know from how you've marketed him that you don't want him to lose. So how about that? We got him on this side. And then you got another guy over here who happens to be Puerto Rican. And that's the reason why you signed him, was because he was Puerto Rican. It's the only reason you signed him. The only reason. There is no other reason you signed him. He's Puerto Rican. There is definitely a shortage of Puerto Rican fighters in the upper weight classes, and we don't have a Puerto Rican star. And, this guy could quite possibly be it. We'll see. And he's over here, and he's with Matchroom. And you both happen to be on the same network. And you both happen to have just fought and are on the same timeline. And one's Mexican, once again, and one's Puerto Rican. It's like, hello. Instead of Oscar, like instead of you just getting coked out and then taking shots at Eddie Hearn for whatever reason, I don't really understand it. For whatever reason, how about you just reach out to him, make a phone call, and say, hey, let's make Munguia versus Berlanga. We're both on the same network. He's Mexican, you're Puerto Rican. Neither one of us trust our fighter to win big fights. How about we just do this? We can make a lot of money. We even have people like Calix who would pay for it. If you put it on pay-per-view, make the fight. What are you doing? And everybody would enjoy that. Despite what people say, it might be a fight that people lie about, right? I had people telling me, hey, if you put this on, the loser just retires from boxing. People are going to act like they're above a fight like that, but I'm telling you, there's a market for a fight like that. And the one reason I know that market is not being tapped into is because we haven't produced another Arturo Gatti since Arturo Gatti retired 15 years ago. And we could have easily produced another fighter, at least similar to that, if we would simply put on fights at that level, to where dudes could shine, to where dudes can become human highlight films by simply fighting. What else do they have to do? What else are they doing? That's literally the reason you signed Edgar Berlanga, is because he's Puerto Rican, and you could possibly put him in a Mexico versus Puerto Rico fight. And you have one sitting right there. Canelo versus Berlanga, despite how many times the dudes who are missing chromosomes tried to tell you that Canelo versus Berlanga was going to happen, it was never going to happen. It was never a marketable fight. People were going to push back on that from every angle. It was never going to happen. Canelo was never going to take that fight. The fight that is there, Mexico versus Puerto Rico, that's always been there and is there right now to happen, is Munguia versus Berlanga. And this is an interesting case study on how promoters can just simply be stupid. And it could be for whatever reason. I simply don't like that guy. Dude, you know how many times I've done business with dudes I don't like? It's like a constant bartering system. It's like, you have what I need. I don't really like you. I actually don't like you at all, but we kind of need each other right now. So let's just do this. Let's grit our teeth and get through it and make some money. You know how many times I've done business, had to have conversations with dudes I don't like. It happens pretty much every day. I don't like you, but we got to do business together. We got to get through this. It is what it is. We'll talk when we need to talk. And the other days we won't talk and we won't even fake it. You don't even have to fake it. Actually, I can send my rep. You send your rep. We don't have to talk to each other at all. At all. So forgive me if I don't understand why a promoter who just can't keep focused, he cannot stay focused. That's the thing about Oscar. He cannot stay focused. When he's focused and locked in, he gets things done. He's delegating, he's getting some fights made. He can't stay focused. And dude, I'm just saying, I'm observing this. I watched Berlanga fight, and I watched Munguia just fight a couple weeks ago, and I'm saying that's the fight. I said it after the Berlanga fight. Immediately, I said make Berlanga versus Munguia. I said on Twitter, make Berlanga versus Munguia. Munguia versus Berlanga. Make it. Just make it right now. Just call each other on Monday, make it. And literally like 2 minutes after I send the tweet, I'm scrolling, and then I see Oscar just throwing shots at Eddie. And I'm like, what is he doing? Why are you doing that? Dude, call him. Or have one of your reps call his rep. Whatever you want to do, but make that fight. What are you doing? What are you doing? What else? What else are you gonna do with Munguia? You gonna do a Derevchenko rematch? Really? It's a great fight. I love the fight, but is that what you're gonna do? Is that what you're gonna do? What's better? Munguia versus Berlanga, Mexico versus Puerto Rico. Put it wherever. Put it LA, put it New York, put it wherever you want to put it. Or Munguia versus Derevchenko 2, or in Berlanga versus God only knows who. What's better? And you'll have the dudes you have the dudes in the chat who drink their wine with their pinky up. Or you'll have dudes out there saying, I want to see Munguia against top opposition. I want to see Berlanga. And look, that's part of it too. We want to see them step up occasionally. I said that. That's part of the Arturo Gatti equation that people miss, is he stepped up occasionally. And we saw, he's not elite, but it doesn't matter. He can step right back down and do what he does. But it's a key part of the equation too, especially if you're marketing these guys as great fighters. They have to fight other great fighters. That's part of it. But right now, you have a key fight that's marketable, makeable. It's probably the biggest fight for both fighters right now, and you're missing it. And what I'm telling dudes out there is that's fights we should be asking for and enjoying, because I'm fine, dude. I'm fine with the pop music. I like my other music. I like the Grammy Award winners. I like my Santana. I like it. I like great guitar players. I like great vocalists. I love all that stuff. You know what else I like? I got a pocket full of sunshine. Oh, oh, whoa. There's my number, so call me maybe. Hey, this just look right, and this is crazy, but here's my number, and call me maybe. I like stuff like that. I do. It puts me in a good mood. I go pick up my kids from camp. I put on some pop music, whatever it is. Pocket full of sunshine. Or tell me you don't like that song. Tell me in the chat you don't like Pocket Full of Sunshine. Here's the homework I want you guys to do today is, when you get off of this thread, when you get off of this chat, as soon as this ends, type in Pocket Full of Sunshine on YouTube and just play it. And it's going to solve your problems. It's going to make all of your problems just go away, because you're going to just be in a good mood. And that's what pop music can do. Like, why can't we just have Berlanga versus Munguia? Put them on there. Have the dude that likes to hit people, hit that guy. Have the other dude who likes to hit people, hit that guy. And then have the dude who likes to get hit. Have the dude who likes to get hit. And they can do a lot of hitting, and they can do a lot of getting hit. And we have fun. We drink beer, and we're entertained. And then we watch some Mexican dudes beat up some Puerto Rican dudes in the crowd, and we watch some Puerto Rican dudes um, retaliate to some Mexican dudes, and we all just have a blast. That's boxing. And forgive me if I like that. Forgive me if I like all that, because I do. I like it. He hates. How do you not like it? I got a pocket full of sunshine, pocket full of stones. I love that too. I love UGK. Love it. I'm out here bumping trap music. I was telling that to Chauncey the other day. Chauncey's making a trap beat. He's like, what do you want? What do you want for the intro? And I was like, I want trap from the South, down here. Doesn't matter the age, demographic. We listen to trap music. That's what we do. I'm bumping Young Dolph, Key Glock. That's what we do. That's what we do when we're riding around in the truck. Our country music. That's what we do. But there's also a need for Pocket Full of Sunshine. There's also a need for going back, way back, New Kids on the Block. Step by step. Ooh, baby, gonna get to you, girl. There's a need for the pop music. In boxing, we've gotten rid of the pop music. We got mid dudes and mid matchups. Every once in a while, we get top dudes and top matchups. Then we pretend like the mid dudes are top fighters when we know they're not top fighters. And then we put them in with top fighters every once in a while after they're done beating up. Like we got the mid dudes beating up on the trash dudes. And then we pretend like the mid dudes are great. And then the mid dudes, every once in 5 years, they step up and fight a top guy and they get beat down. And then we get back to the mid dudes fighting trash dudes. And then we got top dudes fighting mid dudes. How about the mid dudes fight mid dudes? And how about we make some entertaining highlight reel fighters? How about we just make entertaining fighters? How about we just make pop stars? How about we get we get out of this thing where every fighter needs to be Santana? Da, 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 da. How about we get out of this thing where every dude has to be pound for pound or he sucks and there's no use for him and he's either a Grammy Award winner or Mozart or something like that? And how about we just make the person that sings I got a pocket full of sunshine. How about we just make this person that sings Call Me Maybe? Yeah, this might look right, and this is crazy, but here's my number, and call me maybe. Let's make some pop stars. Mongia, Berlanga, Mexico, Puerto Rico, the zone. Hello, it's sitting right in front of you. It's right there. It's the fight. It is a fight that is right there. Hello. Do I need to say it any louder? Oscar, get focused. Oscar, get focused. Pay attention. I know you're focused on all kind of other things. Dude, pay attention. You've got a fight right in front of you that's marketable and can be big. Mongia, Berlanga. Same timeline. Mexico, Puerto Rico. The zone. Make the fight. Deliver us some pop stars. That's it. There's a market for pop stars. And look, dude, if I have to get on here and sing to make my points, just make the fight. What are you doing? Make the fight. I came on here late. I got to go pick up my kids from camp. I'll see y'all tomorrow. I'll be back on here tomorrow. God bless. Peace.